All right, we are at our very first module. This is so exciting. So, we are talking about in this module and in this daily homework assignment, the very first level of the Gottman Sound Relationship House. So, our first level is one of the foundational parts of our relationship, one of the foundational levels of our relationship is what we call building and updating love maps. So, love maps is what we are going to cover for the next 7 days. And we are going to get into various details about how to love map with your partner and how to update and kind of remap these love maps out with your partner. Today, we're going to focus on just like the very, very, very basic piece of what love maps are. So love maps are building and knowing your partner's inner working model, kind of what's going on internally with them. It can be as simple as what is your partner's favorite kind of food? And then it can also be like, who are the people currently in your partner's life that are creating the most amount of stress? Okay. So there can be very different ways or different things that we can know. What do we know about love maps kind of right now? What can I kind of share with you? Which is, to give you an example, when we are first dating, that is like what we're doing. We are love mapping all the time. Like, I'm getting every story. I'm learning everything about you. I remember once my husband and I went up before we were married to where he was from. And he drove me all over town just to show me, like, oh, I used to hang out at that fire hydrant, and I used to hang out with my buddies and smoke cigarettes back there. And so, like, showing me all these little things, which is very much like a dating thing. You're showing me what your life is, who you are, right? I am trying to learn who you are. Wonderful. We stop doing that. We get married, we get serious, we move in, we get attached, we become committed, and it's like, oh, I already know. I know everything about him. I don't need to ask any questions. The problem with that is so often we know old information. We know information from when we dated, right? I'm like hilarious on things that shifted me, right? So I never tried gelato, but I was like, I hate it. It's disgusting. If my husband would bring it up, okay. Well, then just a friend of mine, I said, let's go get gelato. And because she's a friend, I said, sure. And then, of course, love gelato. And now that's all I want. And my husband's like, old information. And also, I had tried it, and I have to update that with him. And so often what happens is our partner gets mad a little bit, or it shifts what we know. The footing that we're on gets a little, unbalanced. Because we're like, wait a minute, you don't like gelato? That doesn't match what we have created in this relationship and the rules we know. And so how do we fix this? What do we do? And the other really, really, really important thing here is when you are asking questions about your partner and updating these outdated love maps, like you want to know me? You want to know more about me? You're interested in what I'm interested in? You're interested in who is stressing me out? That matters to me. That makes me feel like I am a priority, that you are thinking about me, that you want to learn new things about me, that you are willing to accept that I am multifaceted and can have different lives, can grow and change and step into a new hobby or a way of being. And yeah, it can be very shifting again on that plane that we're on. But we have to do it because who we are shifts and changes over time. Who we are in relation to the world often changes when some of our roles change, right? Like when we go from being just a woman, that sounded awful, not just, when I go from being a woman an independent kind of individual working my way through life to becoming a partner to somebody. Like, what does that mean? And then when I become a parent, if I become a parent, some of the things I might have believed in might have changed. Some of them might have gotten even more hardened, or I've dug in on, or I see that, yeah, that really is how I feel and how I want to show up. So I'm even more strong about that opinion, which could be, getting more of the color when we talk about love maps. And I'm gonna talk about that in another video. But what I really want us to understand is that we don't stop growing. We don't stop learning. We don't stop kind of changing views, and the more experiences we have, often that helps in some of the shifting and changing. It doesn't just stop. So if we stop asking questions, the underlying message is that we're not interested. We don't care, and or we don't believe that our partner either has the capacity to change or to see things different, or their change is screwing up the equilibrium so much that it is creating insecurity. And we'll get into that a little bit more as well. My main point, and what I really want you to think about and work on, is that love mapping can happen at any time. We can hear something that our partner says that's new and say, oh, wow, like, tell me more about that. Is that something that you're just getting into? Tell me more about, it seems like your view has shifted on that a little bit. Like, tell me more about that. Or, who at work right now is like someone that you're feeling really connected to? Or so many conversations, so many questions we can ask each other about how we view life pre and post pandemic. Not even that we're post it at this point, but there's just a wealth of information that we can learn by asking questions. Those questions then can lead to deepening conversation. I often will say, hey, when you're doing these love map exercises, just do one question at a time. But don't just get the answer, right? Ask a lot of questions. Learn as much as you can about this. Take your time with it. What you can learn might not necessarily be more about that topic, but it could be something else. It could be a story. It could be, you might find paths of ways to be a more thoughtful gift giver, a more thoughtful planner of activities once you hear some of these stories. It might help you be more compassionate when it comes to a certain conflictual issue, because you've gotten some kind of more history about maybe why this is hard for your partner. You feel engaged. And it's not just how was your day, right? It's like, oh yeah, tell me more about that. Or I know that this can be a challenge for you in times. Tell me. You're interested. You're taking the time. You're asking questions. And then hopefully you're following up with those at another time. And that the main thing is that we don't stop asking each other and learning about each other. Because I know I haven't stopped growing, shifting, changing, learning as a human. And so I hope my partner is in witness of that and is interested in that and isn't scared by that, right? Isn't threatened by that. So what I want you to do for this exercise is I want you to think about, what questions do I have? Maybe I have old information and I want to kind of check in on this old information. And I want to see if these questions and these answers are still the same, or if they're shifting on them. good questions to ask can always be about transitions too. You know, talk about and ask questions about what it is like for you as a parent now versus what you thought it would be, right? We recently moved, so learning about how my energy, or I've noticed, maybe my partner could say, I've noticed that some of your energy shifted to be more relaxed. Can you kind of tell me more about what being here creates that kind of like environment where you feel that way? Like, oh, well, okay. That is so much more than how was your day? I don't know if you really care. Are you just being nice? You're being American, just asking. And I could be American back and say, it's fine. What did you learn? Really nothing. My day probably wasn't fine. It probably had a lot of complexities in it. And they're probably affecting my current mood. All of that is important information. So we don't always just have to find out, like, I want to know what your favorite restaurant is. But when we get into the habit of asking, more open-ended questions with depth that have not just yes and no, they kind of open up the heart and we can start talking. And that we feel free, that we can kind of, I can answer this question. This is great. This, so again, my partner's interested in me. I'm a priority. Knowing me, checking in on this is a priority, especially knowing how little time we have, that is what this person is doing. So think of, go back to the homework. I want you to think of a list of 5 questions that you can come up with that you would like to ask your partner. Again, you might be kind of clarifying an answer that you think you might know and just checking in if that has changed. Maybe what about it has changed. And I also want questions that you don't know the answer to. And it's okay. Okay? If your partner says, what's your favorite food? And you're like, mother, how do you not know? Okay. Well, I can understand why maybe it would be hard to know what my favorite food is. It kind of changes. Recently, and maybe for some time, it's been lasagna. You know, what I want you to avoid is being like, how do you not know that? You don't know me. What are we? Because what we're doing right now is we're trying to improve upon our relationship, or we're trying to create some rituals and some like tools that I want you to start to implement now, so that when things are challenging, you can. So work to check in. I mean, feel it, write it down. But what I want you to avoid doing is being reactionary to it and being pissed that you're being asked a question that you feel like your partner should know. Okay? I want you to answer the question. Give, what your partner is going to present you with, more of a paper that you're going to write down these answers. So I think that's helpful too, to just have some space to write down and be thorough. Be thorough with your answer. Biggest part of this homework assignment is this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be where we're learning. Like, I want us to look at this from this positive lens. Is if we don't know, we're going to ask, we're going to find out, we're going to learn. It's just like my old customer service agent enemies. I don't know, sir, but I'm going to find out that answer, right? We are going to find out. We are going to learn. And we're gonna work to make this relationship better. That is why you are here. And that is why I am here. And I am so excited for you guys. These videos are all going to be about this length. Super easy. Look, 20 minutes and you're done with your first module. So go ahead and print out that homework assignment. what I would really like you to do, because if we're going to be doing this every single day, obviously these questions need to be written down soon. If you want to kind of take time with each of these modules and not do them every single day, then sit down and say, hey, let's try to get these questions to each other by, end of day Friday. But be very intentional and ask each other to sit down and really plan this out so that nobody feels as though one of you is doing more than the other. Okay? Enjoy. Have fun. See ya.